Kimberly, it has been a dream to have you here on the show and really just to have just deep conversation. And there is no deeper conversation than the one in relation to your book that we're going to get to have. So of all the books you've written, which have been amazing, I've read so many of them, I am the most excited about this one because heart coherence is everything. So talk to me, the kind of the ascension of the come through for this book. What was the defining moment for you?
So thank you so much, first of all, for having me here, Dr. Mariza. We've always connected. We've seen each other at events. It's just an honor and a joy to be able to share together and with everyone listening. So yeah, this is my 8th book. And I will say that everything I've ever written has come from this place of spanda, right? The Sanskrit word of this divine inspiration, or just what do I feel like I have to share? So I always wait, even if my publisher is saying, it's time to write another book, or maybe this idea, if I'm not really feeling it, I don't want to put the energy into it. And so when I was writing my last book, which was in 2022 called You Are More Than You Think You Are, and I was doing research for it, came across this incredible research around the heart. And it made me pause and say, whoa, and start to dig deeper and then learn that the heart is actually another brain. It sends more messages to the brain up here than vice versa, controls so much around our health and our vitality and our emotional well-being, taking a really deep dive into the science. And at the same time, I started to dig into one of my favorite ancient texts, the Vedas. Specifically, Swami Sri Yukteswar, this yogi who was Yogananda's guru, wrote about these 5 stages that we all go through to awaken the human heart. And it turned out, doctor, these stages aligned with the science of heart coherence, which we'll get into. The dark heart means incoherence. Heart and brain aren't talking, all the way to the clear heart where we feel this connection and oneness, which means clear heart-brain harmony. So it was just blowing me away. And as you and I were chatting before the podcast, it has completely transformed my energy, my family life, my life in general. I thought I had a lot of energy before, but I would say my energy has expanded about 70%. My relationship with my husband has improved about 90%. So there's a lot to unpack with the heart.
Yeah, I kind of want to unpack a little bit of the story and what you've seen. You're a mama, 2 young boys,
Yes,
very young
20.
boys. Yeah.
So when we're talking about the heart, first of all, I want to say that we're not just saying, this sentimental, romantic idea of the heart, but the heart is really the center of our power and presence. And heart coherence really is about heart, brain, nervous system communication. So it changes our perceptions, which then changes our thoughts, which changes our feelings, our emotions, and our lives. So as I've learned about how to increase heart coherence, which is what the hidden power of the 5 hearts is all about, these really simple but powerful tools, we start to increase our coherence capacity, which means we start to be more centered in ourselves. We start to really get out of the overthinking mind, which we're told and we want to do, but then we don't really know how to do it, right? Positive thinking can feel really fake and forced, or toxic positivity, as we talk about today. But when you go to a different place than the overthinking mind, when you journey down to the heart, it really changes how you see. Yogically speaking, we say when you awaken the heart, you awaken the third eye. You can see differently and you can see more. You can see your patterns. You can see what someone else is really trying to say. It's like zooming out of the situation. So in my day-to-day life, as I become more coherent, and we'll talk about the heart field in a moment because our energy affects other people, and this is scientifically measured with magnetometers. My children have tantrums still, but they come back faster and I feel more centered, whereas I used to feel really frazzled. I think as parents and mamas especially, we all know, there's just so much. There's the dishes and the tantruming and the bickering and just so much in daily life. And it's easy to get frazzled. And now I feel much more energy at the end of the day. I feel calm, which makes me feel really good about myself because I'm speaking to my children and responding in the world in a way that I feel really good about. And then with my husband, we had this big love. We fell in love and got married pretty quickly within 2 months. And then there was the real life stuff, right? It brought up some, we were mirrors to each other, brought up old traumas. And, I had abandonment issues, which is why I always chose safe partners. But then when I had this wild love with him, I couldn't contain it. So it made me move through a lot of triggers. And so this term neuroplasticity, which we often ascribe just to the brain, because there's 40,000 neurons in the heart, applies to the heart-brain communication. So in my daily life, what it really looks like, Dr. Mariza, is having better communication with him, having better communication with my team. Because heart coherence syncs up your organs, and there's research shows it also balances your hormones, which I know you speak about out quite a bit. It's great for your immunity. It's great for your digestion, your gut health, since your gut is also another brain. So just day to day, I also feel a lot lighter, right? One of the aspects of the subtitle is to empower your thoughts, because we're changing the perception. So we're naturally changing the thoughts and emotions. And this piece of research really blew me away, doctor, that 2 minutes of going into irritation, let's say, oh, that person cut you off on the highway, or, this email came in that you weren't expecting. Just 2 minutes of going into the irritation sets into motion 1,500 different biochemical processes, which ultimately drain your energy. And one of the research studies in the book that I reference is that 5 minutes of recalling anger, not being angry, but just recalling something that happened, dropped your IgA, dropped your immunity for 6 hours. So this is so important for us, all of us, to be aware. We could be eating really well, as I was focusing on, getting great sleep, exercising, doing weight-bearing exercise, non-toxic products, all these things we hear about. But if there's emotional upheaval day in and day out, if we're in our ego, in the thoughts, and not in this deep centering place of the heart, we can really continue to drain ourselves day in and day out and not even realize it.
I agree. I was just at Dr. Joe Dispenza's advanced week-long retreat, and a big part of his work is heart coherence as well. And I've always loved the work of heart coherence. And he talks about, and I think it's a yes and, right? We get to eat the foods that nourish our body, and we get to be in more heart coherence. We get to be in more heart regulation, because kind of the big joke was that, no matter, organic, whether you're vegan or whatever, if you're not in coherence, if nervous system isn't regulated, you're in a constant state of deregulation because you're reliving a trauma, or you're in a perceived stress response system, or you're deregulated in that way. He's like, you're just going to express poorly organic proteins. He's like, if your system isn't regulated, I don't care how much organic food you eat, it's still going to be a deregulated system, because your gut, your microbiome, everything's going to be out of balance. And that really landed for me, that, you can't green juice or smoothie your way out of chronic stress, which so many of us are living, and we're more easily triggered that way. And so for me, the practice of heart coherence has been a big practice of mine, but I'm not going to pretend like it's been easy.
Well, so Dr. or Joe Dispenza does use some of the HeartMath research, and that's where he sources it from as well. So when I came across their research, as I mentioned, I was like, this sounds almost unbelievable, right? That all of this is happening from inside of us. So as I started to connect with them more, we actually did our own research study together here in LA called the Heart Aligned Meditation Study, which I describe in the book. And it was a less than 8-minute meditation. And we brought in 30 participants in LA, measured them with the sensitive M-Wave Pro HeartMath equipment, their professional equipment. All we did was give them this less than 8-minute meditation with music, coherence building music, which everyone can access, by the way, on my website at mysaluna.com, and brought them back in 30 days. That's it. We said, try to practice this meditation 4 to 5 times a week. And the results were incredible. An average of 29% increase in coherence, and measurable coherence. And what does that mean? In day-to-day life, that means feeling like you're more in flow, more clear, more having lighter thoughts and perceptions. So again, that means better gut health, hormonal health, that's centering. From a relationship standpoint, it means less drama and chaos. It's so amazing. Yes, so in the book, there's this meditation, but the rest of the tools and practices are not meditations. They are on-the-spot techniques. So for instance, in the second heart stage, the propelled heart, there's something called the Heart Align Harmonize in Life. So this is something I practice all the time. 3 to 10 seconds. You go in, you shift, you realign, right? Even research published in the American Journal of Cardiology shows that shifting into our heart, getting out of the thoughts, not just deep breathing or counting to 10, but really directing our inner focus, starts to rewire our nervous system. So I wanted to be clear that these tools, when we start to use them, we're coming back. So what I've experienced, and I've experienced in my clients who I've been taking this to, is that sure, we still get triggered. We're human. It takes time to rewire, but we don't get triggered as often. And number 2, we come back faster and faster over time. So there's science to this, but I also want to say, Dr. Mariza, that this is so much more. The ancients from all around the world have always talked about the heart as the gateway. This is where the 5 hearts comes in. It's not just the science. To me, the science is wonderful and it validates, but from the ancient Egyptians to the Babylonians, the Greeks, there's been this emphasis on the heart as a gateway beyond a physical organ. And then if you look at all world religions, the Sacred Heart of Jesus Christ, the Anahata Chakra in Hinduism, the Yoga, the Heart Sutra that Buddhism talks about, Lev, Torah, Kalb in the Quran, it's all focused on this point of the heart. So it's this incredible energy. What I love about this practice is that it's experiential. How many times do we hear, get present, be mindful, get out of your head? But then it's like, I talk about in the book, like the wild horse mind, like how do we do that?
Yes. How do
So
we
the
do that?
work, yeah, when you shift down, you're getting away from where the problem is. You're seeking a different solution from where the problem is, which in the case is the overthinking mind. You go into the heart, and like I said, something starts to shift. These neurons, the pathways, you start to create that different type of neuroplasticity. You get out of the amygdala where all the reactivity is to past events, where you store those emotional reactions. You start to change your life, Dr. Mariza, and it's so powerful, and it's inside of us. So really passionate about this because it's like we have this whole unused power center spiritually, energetically, and scientifically that we can all tap into.
I'm so interested. I've done a lot of research into HeartMath and heart coherence. And I've even had I've had the HeartMath devices on the app. But the thing that has moved the biggest needle for me has really been the meditations, but that does take time. And there are definitely in the moment, you can feel like you said, that monkey mind or that deregulated mind where you're in the problem or you're in the trigger, or basically your ego is driving the situation. You've got a 3-year-old melting down over here. You're trying to manage it. That's what I was most excited about with this book, is not only how we redirect back to our heart, but how quickly you have shown us with a lot of these strategies and tools to do that, to realign. Because that's what I've been looking for. I try to make time to do at least 1 or 2 meditations a day to get myself in a heart-centered place. But having something that can move me there quicker, it's a major state change in you're operating from this better place. And so that's why I've been so excited about this book, because I know that you as a mama chasing around 2 boys, right? Boy energy, new relationship with your husband, also the CEO of your business, which is very vast. Just a lot of decisions that are being made all the time. And
a
then
lot of energies.
Yeah, a lot of energies being sent out, right?
So I'll say a couple things about that. And you're right. Number one is the meditations are great because they build that capacity over time. So it's great to go into your day having gone into a heart coherent state, right? But there's the whole day.
Right.
The 2 practices.
It lasts for a while, but then it kind of fades off.
Well, the things that have helped me the most are in the steady heart chapter. It's called the steady in life, how we anchor in when big emotions come. We get really angry or annoyed or irritated, or we go on social media, we feel a pang of envy or jealousy or not enoughness or sadness, right? These are energies that move through the body all the time. So similarly to how we want to digest foods, and by the way, there is an embodiment section in each heart stage with helpful foods because everything is energy. We need this for everyday life. But I think what would be real helpful, Dr. Mariza, is if I can run you through the heart stages, because this is also really helpful, not just heart coherence as, the general ways in which other scientists are talking about it, but for me, what's been really powerful is seeing heart coherence through the lens of these ancient teachings. So as I mentioned, the reason it's called the hidden power, this power inside of us of the 5 hearts, is that there are actually 5 realities that we can step into at any one time. And these 5 heart stages, we can dip in and out, and they're fluid through the day, through an hour, but we tend to inhabit one stage at a time, for a period of our life. So for instance, the first heart stage is called the dark heart. And this means the heart and the brain aren't talking. So dark as in you're in a dark room, you can't see. These are the periods or the moments where we feel confusion, fear. You see those things on the news. Oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know if it's safe to step outside my house. Purposeless, low in energy, right? So I remember having periods of this time in my life and, picking safe people because my fear, my abandonment issues were really strong. Then we start to create more energy for, and we won't get into the whole thing, but there's more energy that starts to build. And then we enter the second heart stage, which is the propelled heart, which is where we see a lot of society operating today. This is where we're propelled into action. We're propelled into trying to seek meaning and something for ourselves. So this means a lot of external validation. This means how do we look? Always trying to get into the next fitness routine or bettering ourselves or sticking to the plan. I'm supposed to be married and have 2 kids by the time I'm 33. I should be making more money. And there's, none of these things are wrong. But when we start to define ourselves primarily by the external world, we can experience anxiety, burnout, stress, perpetually in fight or flight. So this is a propelled heart stage. And then stage 3, the steady heart, is where coherence scientifically really starts to grow, this inner syncing up. And what this means is we become more steady inside, right? So this means we become the anchor to ourselves for life's ups and downs. We don't feel so thrown in the waves. We don't feel so personally rejected if somebody doesn't like our TikTok post, or, we don't get that personal job. We know that we can move on because we have this steadiness in us. And then the fourth stage is the devoted heart. And this is a high level of coherence and awakening. Intuition really starts to turn on. We become more devoted to these inner qualities of unconditional love and peace. Peacefulness and compassion become more important than outcomes. But as I talk about in the book, because there's such a high heart frequency and coherence, you become more attractive, more magnetic. You actually attract more opportunities to you. Things tend to work out better. There's more emotional intelligence at work and at home. And I'll give you an amazing example about this in a moment. And then the clear heart stage is heart-brain harmony. This is where we feel that oneness, this flow. And this is where we step into great synchronicities. But it doesn't have to, it's not so lofty, like, oh, it's so hard to get there. Only Buddha gets there. It's those moments where you're washing the dishes maybe, and you're kind of out of time and space, or you look into your child's eyes or your puppy's eyes, and you just feel that expansiveness. So what's amazing about these heart stages and the tools in the book is that there's tools for transcending out of dark and propelled. And when you find yourself in those moments, how to come back into center and how to deepen and continue to awaken your heart.
I love it. And I see so many of us in 2 and 3,
or 1 and 2.
Or 1 and 2. Yeah, definitely 2, and
yes.
Yeah, 1 for sure. And gosh, so many women I know trying to just handle all the things. I feel like 2 is very much that place.
The doing and trying to feel like worthy because we're doing more versus this really deep anchoring. And here's the thing about the heart work too, Dr. Mariza, for women and all of us, this is our point of power. So these meditations, these tools, sometimes they're disassociative, right? Yeah. Like, let me imagine I'm in a waterfall somewhere else. I'm not saying those can't have benefits for relaxing you or calming you down, but the heart work brings you right here. And maybe we can do a mini practice so we can all experience this here, clarity, presence. So what does this mean? This means we don't have to resist. We flow with life. We just start to create what I call heart-based living, moving from moment to moment. What's the most loving, coherent, harmonious thing to say to this person? You can have clear boundaries. You can express your needs, but without all the narrative, without all the story, without all the past triggers, it just becomes so much more practically efficient and successful how we operate in life. I mean, it just blows me away time and time again.
Yeah, I would love an exercise. I think all of us really desire this.
Yes.
We desire for many reasons. I mean, women don't want to be triggered. I don't anyone wants to be yelling or feeling overwhelmed or panicked or not worthy enough, that we're operating from this, not only ego, but really this mental place where we're just running ourselves into the ground. And you and I both know that channels into physiological disease states that I see play out all the time. So not only showing up from a heart-centered place, but also when we can operate from a heart-centered place, we're less likely to develop some of these chronic conditions. I know this is something that I would say that I probably vacillate between 2 and 3. Like, I find some stability, especially with all the meditation that I do, but I can easily yanked back into the overwhelm of doing, and so, for me, I know that is unlocking this piece of being more heart, having heart coherence and being more heart-centered, operating from that place is really how I'm going to create, not only be a better mama, like show up as the mother that I always want to be, but also being a human operating in a more energetic state.
Yeah, exactly. Joyful, Dr. Mariza, light, enjoying your life, right? These are the things, and our society tells us in the propelled heart, you need more followers, more money, more this or that. And I've worked with so many people that have those things. We hear this, but it's true. And there's disconnection and they're still unfulfilled.
Yeah, they're unhappy.
So what this inner state gives you is priceless. And to speak to your work, before we go into the practice, I just want to show this little graph on page 77, if you guys are watching this, with the hormones. So this research showed that in 1 month of doing these heart coherence tools, which is what the Heart Align harmony practice is based on in the propelled heart, what you're speaking about, which is always on, never content, always have to do more. I want to be the perfect mom. I'm going to, join all the committees. I'm going to drive my kid to 50 activities a day. Then I'm going to go home and do the dishes. And I'm going to do this and this, right? It's like when we start to center ourselves, on average in 1 month, cortisol went down 23%. And then DHEA, precursor hormone, so important for vitality, fertility, many things went up 100%. It's like mind blowing. I want everyone to know this. The emotional energies, like you said, Dr. Mariza, focus on our food. We don't see it, but it's affecting us on such a deep level. And the other thing that, this is the HeartMath torus field research that they've measured the heart field. I want people to know as well this, because it's very empowering once we are aware that we are are constantly putting out a field made of electromagnetic frequencies. We are constantly repelling and attracting, whether we realize it or not. So it's better if we know. When we are more coherent, that fields become stronger, it becomes more harmonious, we become more impervious to other people's energy. And I'll give you this example right now. We start to attract things in ways that the linear mind could never conceive of. And let's say we do say we want a relationship, but energy doesn't lie. So if there's incoherence, we may continue to attract that drama, that chaos, or repel that love or that connection that we want. So when I wrote a few books ago, The Beauty Detox Power, I sent it to Deepak Chopra. And I said, oh, this is the person I really want to have a review from. He's also bridging science and Eastern philosophy. He's sort of my hero in that way. Finally, I got the book to him. He gave a great review. But I had this feeling, my intuition said I'm meant to do more with him. So I was in this, just kind of meditating a lot and just feeling really clear. As I would describe, I was in the clear heart stage. And I was living in New York City at the time. This was a few years ago. And I was supposed to go to a meeting from across Union Square Park. So usually I would just cut across the park in a diagonal. But something inside me, Dr. Mariza, and I can't even explain, said, go this way. So I followed it and I walked around the outskirts of the park to the west. And who did I run into on the street? Deepak Chopra, right? And so I went up to him and I'm like, Deepak, it's Kimberly. You just reviewed my book. And then we had this exchange. He gave me his cell phone number. We met at a coffee shop a few weeks later and in 2 hours decided to write a book together. We laid out the 6 pillars. The book later became a New York Times bestseller. I mean, these are things that you cannot explain from the linear mind, but it's also non-personal. We're stepping into different fields as we become more coherent, right? So in the Clear Heart chapter, I say, in these Western hero stories, there's this more ego. I have the power. I wake up, I can save the world, or I can save the town. But what the heart realizes is there's this power moving through me. So it's not mine. I'm not special. It's like this. We're special because everyone's special in that way. But it takes out this trying to hold this constricting energy into we can all have this. We can all tap into this incredible potential, right? That's how I feel so lit up about this, Dr. Mariza. I just want to share it. I want people to know this is inside of us. And we can all start to step into this other field where life is more easeful. Because I know what it's like. I've struggled with rent at times. I felt really frazzled. I had eating disorders, stress, anxiety, dead-end relationships. I felt a lot of struggles that we all feel, right? We're all human. And so the way of the heart feels, it's a shift. You do these practices and you start, it's like the Titanic. If it was turned a couple degrees, it would have made a big difference. You start to say, oh my gosh, I'm not bickering so much with my partner. Wow, I feel so much lighter in my thoughts. Like little by little, your life starts to change and then you can start to experience really quantum leaps.
That's what I'm talking about. And that's what I'm so excited about for this is that it is possible that we get to tap into this. I would love if you want to walk us through and then share some other things too. Like I said, as I've been kind of a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work for a long time, and we all have our version of how we can get there. And with him, it's like, you got to sit your butt down and do the hour and a half and the whole 9. And
no.
You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of us don't have time for that. Like, and I do appreciate, when the people are committed to an hour and a half meditation every day, they see massive shifts. But
I mean, listen, I respect there's different teachings out there.
Sure.
But one of the things that so there's a couple of things I want to say, and then let's do the practice. We'll do it in 1 minute. Okay.
Great. I love it.
It's not sitting there for hours at a time in what I've experienced. What it is number one, awakening this awareness. So in the Hidden Power of the 5 Hearts are these incredible teachings that just by learning about them, we'll start to shift our awareness. And then, like I said, for me, the practices are interwoven in my life. I do them when that traffic hits or where I'm like on the floor trying to pick up the toys and my older son spills another box of Legos. Take that moment. It's
my husband calls it a fool's errand. He's like, are you really trying to pick up stuff while he's taking stuff down?
Oh my gosh. Well, so let me read you this let me read you this line, Dr. Mariza, and then I want to go into the practice. So Sri Yukteswar, again, who's writing about the 5 heart stages. These aren't ones I made up. These are ancient. They've been written about since ancient times. Sri Yukteswar teaches that the core essentials of life are Sat, existence, which everybody listening to this already exists, Chit, consciousness, and Nanda, bliss. Now, here's the key part. These 3 are the real necessities of the human heart and have nothing to do with anything outside his self. This self-fulfilling torus field of energy and love and peace from inside. So let's sit with that while we do the practice.
Okay.
Dr. Mariza.
I'm ready.
So anyone that's watching this, or please do this with us, unless you're driving your car.
Unless you're driving, yeah.
You keep your eyes open and experience some of it. But the full tracks again are on my website with music, which helps to create that coherence. But I'm going to show you guys how simple this is. And you may have intuitively felt this power inside of you, but now we're going to start to unlock it and bring it forward in your life. So you're going to close your eyes down if you can. And straight away, we're going to shift our attention to your heart. Now, you can place your hands on your heart if that feels natural to you. I teach this to my children, or you don't have to place your hands on your heart, whatever feels natural, but it's more about this internal shift. And once again, I'll just share that the American Journal of Cardiology showed that this alone starts to create great change in your nervous system. So now we're going to take a few deep breaths. You can drop your hands if you want or keep them there. Take some deep breaths now in and out of your heart. So we're going to imagine your heart is like a giant lung. And for this abbreviated practice, we're not going to do the full coherence heart breathing, which I'll teach in the book, but just breathing in and out, nice deep breaths, putting your full awareness on your heart. And now keeping your focus there, I'd like you to recall someone or something that makes you feel appreciation. So appreciation is a heart-based emotion. It's a mix of gratitude, awe, approval, feels expansive, maybe a little warm and tingly. So once you have that visual that helps you recall the energy of appreciation, you can drop the visual and just focus there right in your heart. And we're going to sustain appreciation for just a few moments. And then last little moment here, if you dropped out of it, just bring back that image. Feel that appreciation right in the center of your chest, right in your heart. And then take another deep breath in and out through your heart. And just take a moment to thank your beautiful, amazing heart for its wisdom. Open your eyes when you're ready.
That's so beautiful. It's very powerful.
So over time, like I said, we start to have these images or people, whatever it is that helps us recall. It's like as we get into the meditation, it may be, again, the same thing over and over again. Your baby, your dog, a sunset you saw on a trip that helps you go into that state. And then I just want to show on a graph, if we were to look at what's happening inside your body, this is on page 29 in the book. This is the HRV pattern of someone in anger, which is very chaotic and irregular. When we go into appreciation, you can see these smooth sine waves. This is where the psychological becomes the physiological. Did you feel it, Dr. Mariza?
Oh, yeah. It felt so good. Yeah, I could feel the shift. Yeah. And I could feel the deep appreciation. Like I could feel, yeah, it was really, really powerful.
Because sometimes we think like, oh, this is nice, but this is really measurable, right? It starts to change your heart rate, your HRV patterns, your state of being. It reverberates. This changes your perceptions and your thoughts. This changes your health, your vitality. So in the heart aligned meditation tracks, which are under 8 minutes, we sustain that state of appreciation. I talk you through it. We have the music for about 2 minutes. And imagine being in that coherent state for 2 minutes. I'm not talking about an hour and a half, but if we can do 2 minutes, this starts to really rewire us for the day, for more clarity, and it keeps building like a muscle.
Can I ask, just I know practical, my ladies over here, Kimberly, how often do you find, is there like a moment that you check in and say, oh, this would be a good time for me to get back in my heart? Or, at this point, I know it's probably more second nature for you, but how often today do you find yourself kind of attuning back to the heart?
So in stage 4, which is called the devoted heart, there's a section where I call it warm heart is an activated heart. So how do we keep this as a different life shift? So when I was learning about this work a few years ago, it was like, oh, doing this tool, the research says this, and then the meditation. But what happens as we deepen into this, it starts to become our life. So now over time, I start to notice more when I leave my heart and I say something from a reactive, egoic place, or like, wow, I really, left there with self-compassion, because we all have a journey, we all have triggers and wounds, but I'm constantly coming back in, constantly checking in. There's also a part in that heart stage where it's called never miss an opportunity to serve. So this is where, as we expand, we start to feel so much fulfillment and connection for serving. serving the world, serving others, and not in always these formal, bigger ways, like I'm going to volunteer at the soup kitchen all weekend. Never miss an opportunity to serve means in this moment, can I be present with this person in this moment? What is the kind thing to say? Can I smile at the barista in the coffee shop? Can I hold the door open for this person walking into Target? Can I live in this vibration more and more, moment to moment? Because our life here, Dr. Mariza, is moment to moment. This is it. So living from our hearts, it's just like a compass. As we do these tools and practices, we start to live, we start to embody the heart energy. And guess what? It starts to turn on that intuition. When you open the fridge, what is the best way to care for myself? There's a practicality. There's also a heart gut practice in the propelled heart. Start to activate that somatic knowing, that guidance from your gut as well. How can I best care for myself? How can I care for my child? How can I best communicate my needs? How can I put up this healthy boundary? How can I move this project forward? It becomes a whole way of living.
I know, I feel that. And I know you talked about, we saw the graph of appreciation and gratitude. Is that a step in the right direction too in the work? Because that's an area again, like you said, we live in these moments. And I try to live in moments of deep gratitude in all the moments, because I felt like that was getting me closer. And one, it just feels good. But I always felt like maybe that was getting me closer to more heart coherence as well. I was curious if that was a part of this as well.
So there's the heart way, like we just experienced together, Dr. Mariza, where we are feeling it. We are experiencing. That's where change happens in the moment, this experience. Sometimes we do things from a heady place. Oh, I'm supposed to write a gratitude list. I should be grateful for this, but I'm really feeling this way, right? So we're still stuck up in that dark heart or propelled heart, up here in the mind, in the mind, in the mind. So what counts is, even if it's for these microseconds towards coherence and turning on our heart intelligence, is authenticity and sincerity and making the shift down into the heart and embodying the energy of appreciation. So the reason we use that in the heart aligned meditation is because it's one of the easier heart emotions to access. If we're having a really hard day with the kids, if we're frazzled after a long day at work, it's hard to just step into love or peace or compassion. But if we have those recalls, that beautiful sunset or that water you swam in a vacation, or your child, you have things that help you trigger that appreciation.
Like an anchor.
Exactly. So I have, the same two things I think about my kids and my husband, and so I don't have to think, okay, what am I appreciative for? Just them, I recall them, and it helps shift me into that state, which doesn't just feel nice, although that's an important part, but on a deep level, the heart and the brain start to talk. I'm getting pulled out of that fight or flight, which I could really go down the rabbit hole back into rest and digest. There's this centering quality. It changes my thoughts. I mean, it changes everything. So we keep bringing ourselves back and back again to the heart a million times a day. I feel like all the time I'm like, what's the heart-based thing to say here? Let me come into my heart before I do this podcast, before I write this email, before I step into the day, before I interact with my child's teacher. Settle in. But otherwise, we can speak from the ego, from the mind, and then we may have a mess to clean up, or it doesn't come across the way we want it to.
No, yes, exactly. I know that I know women are listening to this and they're like, hey, I know we're all coming from the mind of how to do it, and I'm so grateful that you reminded us again, this is about the heart come through.
It's easier than you think. It's natural, especially for us women, Dr. Mariza. This is, we are naturally of the heart, right? I think society moves us into this very brain, linear focused place, but we naturally can access this. We just have to put some attention. Again, it can help to touch your heart, to learn these tools and teachings that I share in the book, because it starts to reinforce what many of us know on a deep level, but it's like that lasso around the mind. As I say, this is a way to harness your real power moment to moment. So it's not like, oh, let me just do this big retreat or this course once in a while or this thing I learned. This is moment to
every
moment.
day. Yeah, no, this
Living.
is moment to moment throughout the day,
Yes.
every day. No, yeah. And I think it's that practice of, establishing that heart connection over and over and over again, initially, until, like, for you, it's second nature. You can feel yourself coming out of it versus having to put yourself into it. I think I'll still be in a position where I'm trying to put myself into it. Yeah. To shift in versus recognizing when I shift out. And I'm excited to be there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I was in the propelled heart for most of my life, and feeling this sense of peace and lightness was very foreign. But as I go through these practices, it was like steady heart, and then a lot of time in the devoted heart. But we can all all get there. And I still have dark heart moments where I feel fear or, resistance or stress of the propelled heart. So it's not like, oh, I've arrived, right? It's like we constantly keep deepening and deepening into the work. And it really does get better and better and more easeful.
That's what that's what I think we all want to hear. That it's gonna
Yes, it
get
does. I honestly, and again, no hour and a half. I do the 8-minute meditation. I shift in. I do these practices. Like I said, the Heart Align Harmonized tool is under a minute, 3 to 10 seconds in life. I'm practicing that constantly. It just becomes a way of being.
I love it. Okay, so the book, it's available today. We can get it
Yay!
all the places, right? And then I think what people are going to really want, besides kind of understanding the 5 hidden powers of the heart, like the 5 different levels, right? That we can ascend and descend into. Hopefully we stay around 3 and 4. Even 5 would be amazing. But I think it's it's going to be the way that we bring ourselves in. So I know that the book has a lot of tools, but then also you've got a lot of the meditations baked as well. And so where would you love us to go once we get the book to get access to the meditations? Are the links inside of the book?
Yes, and you can also go to mysaluna.com/5heartsbook, and there'll be meditation tracks on there, again, with the Coherence music. There'll be deeper explanation about the study we did and the science, beyond the book as well.
Perfect. And then Kimberly, honey, where else would you love for us to check you out?
So mysaluna.com is my central hub. And then I also have a podcast called the Feel Good Podcast, and on social @_Kimberly Snyder.
Perfect. Honey, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on here and for sharing this and walking us through that beautiful practice.
Oh, thank you so much. It's wonderful to connect to you and your big heart. And thank you for bringing so much forward to support others and just being genuinely kind and loving.
Thanks, honey.